connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today, and now I just have to remember what we're talking about. Today, we're talking about reactivity and how we get buffeted about by emotion and circumstance and how to find our way back to center. But before we get started, let's take a minute to get present. So let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding into your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells and all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, electrifying and illuminating all your cells, all your electrons, all your molecules. And as you exhale any tension, any remaining stress, negativity, or fatigue. And now let's just gently press our palms together, softly, rub your fingers against your palms and feel how delicious that sensation is, and allow yourselves to become present right here, right now. So welcome. If you've been on a ride with me for, this week, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, it's now Thursday, and I have a surprise for you. Look who's back. This is a miracle, right? So those of you who have been tuning in know that this is Maggie. Maggie disappeared, went missing on, thank you, Andrea, went missing on Sunday. And today is Thursday. Yesterday, good afternoon, Pat. Maggie is back. So welcome. It's great to have you here with us. So I want to tell you the story of how I got Maggie back, but I also really want to talk about reactivity, because the past several days for me were just so filled with emotion and raw sorrow and all kinds of upset and finding my way back to myself with all these crazy emotions that were going on was a big deal. And then I got Maggie back yesterday, and it's such a miracle, really, that like the emotions. Pat says grandchildren so excited that Maggie's back. That's awesome. Very cool. I know she has her own fan base that people tune in just to see her, and they tolerate me to be able to see her. So that's awesome, Pat. Thank you for that. And welcome, Grace Isis. Grace Isis says, "Hello, lovely beings. Blessings to see you both. Hooray from the universe!" From the universe, exactly. So. Thank you, Elaine. I'm happy too. Thank you so much. Elaine says, so happy for you and Maggie. Have a blessed now. Beautiful. So I'm going to tell you the story about how Maggie came back, or she didn't really come back, but how I got Maggie back. But before that, I do want to talk about reactivity, because being at the effect of circumstance, there were moments when through this incident, or what, I was deep in despair. I went through all kinds of emotions, and it was like a whipsaw, the swings of emotions. And then I noticed, I noticed myself trying to find my center, to find myself, like it was all these swings to go from feeling whatever feelings were there, and then to come back to my place of centeredness. And, then when I got a phone call saying that Maggie had been found, I I was in awe. I was just in awe because of it was pretty miraculous. And managing our reactivity, like to instead of like going off and being um until I was with her, until I knew that for sure it was her, I was tempering my enthusiasm. But it was really interesting because a number of people that I spoke to said, "Well, I knew she'd come back. I knew you'd get her back." And at the same time, it is pretty much of a miracle. So let me share the miracle with you, and then we can talk about reactivity. So I know that so many of you love Maggie, and you know that I do. And I know that a number of you were saying prayers for her. And there were actually some prayer circles that Maggie, where people were praying for Maggie to find her way home and be safe and be healthy. And the friend who gave her to me, put her in a prayer circle on Sunday. And I know that folks from Enlightened World Network had been praying for her as well. And yesterday I was on a Zoom call with with a group of women that I meet with every week. And one of them suggested that we have a prayer for Maggie, and we did that. And minutes after we had made the prayer for Maggie, here she is, Tammy. Thank you. Thank you. I'm delighted to have her back, I have to say. So minutes after we completed this prayer, the phone rang. And it was someone from the SPCA saying that they had Maggie in one of the local SPCA facilities. And she asked me a couple questions, and I answered them affirmatively. And she said, "Yeah, they're on lunch right now." But this was at about 12 o'clock, and they were on lunch until, thank you, Christina. Yes, how about that, right? They were on lunch till about 12:30. So I got Maggie's cages set back up and everything. And the story behind it is that I really just had some guidance from some of you folks and inspiration to make a listing on Facebook. There's a wonderful organization called Paw Boost, PAWBOOST. And they were the ones, I guess, managing reports of lost animals in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. You're not kidding, Andrea. It absolutely is such a blessing. So I put on an alert on Facebook, and then someone from that who saw that commented. People were giving me wonderful guidance, and someone who saw that also suggested that I list her disappearance on something called Parrot 911, which I had never heard of. So I did that as well. And then just looked for the lost and found animals in Abington Township, which is near where I live. And anyway, what happened was one of the people from the SPCA happened, it was a coincidence in big air quotes, to look at the Facebook page and saw my post about Maggie. And apparently Maggie had been turned in on Monday, the day after she escaped, which is awesome because otherwise she probably wouldn't have survived. And she was found a couple blocks from where I live. Now, I don't know the details. I was trying to get in touch, or I was hoping to get in touch with the person who rescued her. But the SPCA has confidentiality rules. And so I asked them if they would forward my phone number to them so that I could hear from them and thank them for facilitating her return back home. And Christina says Paw Boost is great. I'm just thrilled, I have to say. So I'm thrilled to have her back, and I imagine you are too. And I have to say, it was so quiet here when she wasn't here. Maggie's a little bird, but she takes up so much space. She fills the apartment and beyond. She is a constant companion. And so when she wasn't here, I noticed a sense of quiet, and like peacefulness that that was very new, because she's been with me for the past 6 months. So I noticed there was a peacefulness here. There was a lot. Things were a lot neater and cleaner. But I recognized that I actually had a choice to choose. Knowing what I know, knowing my cat was so much happier when she wasn't here. Just knowing what the presence that Maggie is and the demands that she creates. I embraced it, and it was awesome to have the opportunity to choose that again, right? So Tammy says they are wonderful. This is Paw Boost. I used them here in Virginia for a lost dog. Oh my gosh. Tammy says, unfortunately, my dog was hit by a car and passed, but without them, I never would have had closure to know where he was. Wow. I'm so sorry for your loss, Tammy. And what you're saying about closure is a really big deal. Because we can make ourselves crazy trying to navigate the not knowing, right? And Isabel, so good to have you here. Isabel says, hello, good morning, congratulations for having Maggie back. I am so thrilled, and I think it's due in no small part to the wishes and prayers and intentions of so many people who really are familiar with Maggie and love her. And I'm so grateful to all of you for the love and energy and support that you have shared in moving through this. And when I'm talking about reactivity, I'm reminded of the story that I've told or I've shared before. I don't know how well I've shared it, but about the man whose son is the only guy who is really helping to take care of the farm, and the father really depends on him, and the son breaks his leg, and everybody says, oh, what a tragedy. And the father says, we'll see. And then the government comes and conscripts all the men to go to war, and the son, because his leg is broken, doesn't get conscripted, and everybody says, oh, how wonderful. And the father says, we'll see. And then one of his horses runs away and disappears, and everybody says, what a tragedy, how are you going to handle the farm? And then that horse comes back with another horse, and everybody says, what a blessing. And you're getting the idea. It's like this constant whipsaw based on circumstance. And Julie says, hi, Julie, thank you so much for being here. Oh, yes, my prayers were answered. Maggie is back. Yes, my prayers too, Julie, and the prayers of so many people. And I tend to this was such a confirmation of the power of prayer that Maggie made it back. How often do birds get get found, first of all. I mean, it's pretty remarkable. And I know so many people were praying for her safety and her return. So I do believe in the power of prayer and focused intention. And anyway, I want to talk about this reactivity and how we are so much at the effect of circumstances. So, yesterday we were talking about allowing life to be perfect in its unfolding with every face of that. When there's sorrow, feel the grief. When there's whatever it is that's unfolding, to allow for the perfection of that in that moment. And I'm looking to see where the line is between presence and reactivity, and also presence and dissociation, like being dissociated from things. It's like, just, okay, well, that happened. Okay, well, that happened. And allowing it to unfold. Where are the emotions coming from? That's a really interesting thing to be looking at. So Christina says, if anyone does lose a bird friend, I learned because of Maggie's disappearance from Parrot 911 to place their cage out. Apparently, they can find their cage better than a house or apartment. In fact, there were significant number that fly into their bird cages if they can't, into other birds' cages if they can't see their own. That's fascinating, Christina. I did register with Parrot 911 for Maggie's return, and my nephew had done some research online and said, put her cage on the roof, she might find her cage. So I actually put both her cages on the roof, and it's an interesting thing to know. The thing is that Maggie doesn't spend much time in her cage, so I don't know if that mitigates the effectiveness of the cage on the roof thing, but I think that's a really important thing for people to know. Anything that helps, right? Good morning, Dennis. It's been a long time. I don't know if you've been around when, okay, so you knew Maggie was missing. And yes, I'm thrilled too. It's amazing. So I think I've told you guys that she typically has slept under the covers. And so I think I'm going to put an end to that because our sleeping cycles aren't necessarily the same. And she wakes up and then she goes and wakes me up by nipping at me. And I can tell you that's not the most pleasant way to wake up. And she's very persistent about it. Like, she won't just stop and chill. She just keeps, walking on me or nipping me or whatever. So in the middle of the night, I ended up taking her and putting her in her cage for her to sleep. And when she wakes up in the morning, she starts calling her name to wake me up and to come and get her out of the cage. So it's pretty funny. When I got to the SPCA, she had just taken a bath in the water that they had in her cage. So she was all straggly and wet and looked like she'd really been through it, but she bounced back really quickly. So hello, Kristen, welcome. So good to have you here. And yeah, we're all celebrating Maggie's return. So she's back to herself. I don't know if she's registered trauma from the event or not. I would love to be able to hear her share her journey, share her adventure, but she's not talking, at least not so far, not about her adventures. But anyway, this reactivity thing, where is, like, there was a lot of emotion that was happening for me, or that I experienced over the past number of days. And I'm looking to see where the line is between being present to the emotions that are there and reactivity. And excuse me, I've been short on sleep. Yeah, I when I was feeling the grief, I was feeling the grief, and when I wasn't. And there was such a range of emotion. I want to explore this with you. I'm really interested in your perception and perspective on this whole thing as far as reactivity. And in many ways, um, are the way that we react or respond to circumstance is what makes us human. And yet we don't want to be buffeted about by circumstance, where our beingness is dictated by circumstance, and in my case, it was deep sorrow, deep sadness, over Maggie's not being here. So that was circumstantial, right? And it was present when it was present. But we also, we get angry at circumstances. We get upset. We get triggered by all kinds of things. And I think I talked about this yesterday as well, admittedly through tears, but that when the grief was arising around Maggie, it brought back the grief around so many other losses, or the passing of other people, the sadness of missing them, or just feeling the loss. And so I'm wondering, like, how I think that there were moments, and maybe even most of the time, through the sadness, the feelings of sadness, I think that I was present. And the question is, how centered was I? I don't know if I was anchored in my center or not. And I don't know if I'm exploring the idea of whether that centeredness can coexist with deep emotion. I'm wondering what your thoughts are on that. It's like, when we're in, I'll say, when we're in the throes of deep emotion, are we able to be centered? I think the reason that I felt like I was so whiplashed is because when I was in the emotion, I wasn't in my center, maybe, and I would come back to center, and then there would be more emotion, and then I would come back to center, and it was a back and forth that was pretty quick, and left me feeling a bit disoriented, and I'm wondering if you guys have a similar experience. The grief, the sadness was because Maggie wasn't here, and And there were moments when that sadness lifted and I was able to talk about her not being here without all emotion. Like that's just what is. To move in and out of, maybe it's moving in and out of acceptance. Maybe it's moving in and out of presence. The I think that this experience has, especially because Maggie's back now, and I don't feel the loss. This experience has kind of awoken me to be looking at emotion from a different place, to be exploring it a little bit more deeply, and the drama of the human experience, and how we create that, and the distinctions between being responsive and reactive. I do think that part of the grief I was feeling was a summoning, like maybe it had triggered a lot of past losses, past love pets, past love people, and that sorrow, or the grief around it as it arose, I think connected all of those instances, all of those circumstances. So help me sort this out, as like reactivity versus responsiveness, presence versus getting lost in projections of the past and the future. So Julie says, the loss of my 16-year-old poodle took a piece of my heart from me. I'm so sorry, Julie. I mean, I have so many beloved pets that have passed that yes. And Julie says, I will say, he shows me he is still with me. With all the signs, he shows me that he is still with me. That's beautiful, Julie. And I know, like the brokenheartedness, I get it. I mean, I have had pets who are the loves of my life, and best friends. And yeah, so it's interesting to try to understand what that connection is. What is it that takes a part of our heart, and maybe it just makes our heart grow too. So yes, right, Bernadette. Bernadette, welcome. Bernadette says, woohoo, hello, Maggie. And Kimberly, well, good morning. You're here for Maggie's return. So we've been talking about the nature of emotion and reactivity and centeredness, and how all those things come into play when life presents its challenges to us, and how do we react and respond to those challenges. So Julie, I hope that you are able to get to a place where you can think of your poodle, who obviously brought you so much joy and love, with joy and love instead of the sadness. I have to say, I had a dog named Gypsy, and she died. She had lung cancer, and I had to put her down, or actually I used muscle testing, and she chose. She was an amazing person. I'll say, person in a fursuit. And for years, I wasn't able to talk about her without crying. And and several cats as well that just really, really took my heart. And these our fur babies, fur and feather babies, are such gifts to us. And the fact that they live shorter lives is, so devastating when we lose them. Because I think that we can forge closer relationships oftentimes with animals than we can with humans, right? Because it's kind of an unconditional relationship, right? And yeah, Maggie has potential to be living 35 years, maybe. That's on the outside, but maybe 25, maybe 35 years, provided she doesn't, disappear and find her early demise. So like when I took on being Maggie's mama, or friend, or all of that above, I realized that it was potentially a lifelong commitment. She could outlive me. So what I found myself considering when she wasn't here is the redefinition of myself, like the redefinition of my projection of the future, which I hadn't even realized that I had cultivated so thoroughly, to expect that she was going to be with me forever, or for my forever. And then she was gone. And all of the challenges, the deep heartbreaks that we suffer in our lives, or that we experience in our lives, it makes me wonder what's up with that, and what I realize is that we get to experience the range of emotion, and we cultivate a resiliency, with loss, our heart expands, with love, our heart expands. And it's risky, right? Because we risk heartbreak when we love. But it's what gives life such richness, right? All of it, the love and the sorrow, the joy and the heartbreak, all of it is what gives life its richness. So I just was trying to discern the transition space between reactivity and authentic emotion, and what the connection is. So Isabel says, if we're able to be present with the pain, then we can let go, the allowance of letting go. Exactly. And that's the magic of our humanness, is that when we are present to the emotion, whatever it is, or the sensation even, it passes. So we're never always in a state, in as constant state. We're always moving from state to state. As we allow the sadness to be there and feel it, then it passes, and it may come again, but it passes. So Dennis says, you may agree that the disappearance of a beloved pet, then their return, makes their reappearance more exuberant. I do agree, Dennis. It certainly makes for a greater sense of appreciation and recognition of the gift of that companionship and the gift, how fleeting things can be, you know, how how fragile our sense of security can be, you know, or how fleeting relationships are. It gives for a greater perspective for sure. And Christian says, I think society conditions us to feel weak when we feel emotion, and we don't fully heal from our loss and traumas. The triggers can cause conflict and confusion. Really, really well said, Kristen. Thank you so much for that. I think that that's true, that society makes us feel less than if we express emotion. And the fact is, in my opinion anyway, it takes some strength and courage to be present to the emotion that's there. And I also believe that that emotion is energy. And if we block it, that energy gets stuck and it'll lodge itself somewhere in our body and being. It shows up in dis-ease if we deny it long enough. So I think that we get to look at the strength of being present to our emotions, and we get to reshape that whole notion that emotion is weakness. Not at all. Not at all. When it's reactivity, you know, when it's as well, it's a hard line to draw, but as you said, Kristen, the triggers can cause conflict and confusion. Yeah, because it's like, wow, why am I reacting this way? Or why am I not reacting or you know, responding? You know, it's very interesting because we do tend to cultivate triggers that we're not even aware of. And then we go into a robotic kind of spiral sometimes when triggers occur, and lose our sense of presence and lose our sense of self. Hi, Kimberly. Thank you so much. Oh, you already said that. Thank you. You said hello, and I'm thankful that Maggie is back too. So thank you very much for that. And Julie says, my Coco. So Julie, I grew up with a poodle named Coco, also a black standard poodle. And Judy says, my Coco was God's gift to me. I thank him every day for the time we had together. We will meet again. That's so beautiful. And I know that like these animal consciousnesses that show up in our lives are such profound gifts, and some of them really, really make such a deep impression on our hearts and souls, and our, you know, that like just the richness of their spirit and presence. They are like angels in our lives. At least that's my experience too. And as a kid, I was always more connected to animals than people, and they were my best friends, and they, you know what, they still are, truth be told. And when I was scared, my dad took me to Crystal Cave or something, and for whatever reason I got really frightened, and I don't know, maybe I was 3 or 5, I don't know. I called out the names of all my animal friends, you know, like that I was calling for their help and support. And so Julie, my heart goes out to you with Coco. I feel that way about Gypsy and my cats, Max and Brickle. And Max was like one of the loves of my life. And he was a tabby, and beautiful, beautiful, incredible markings, a lot of rich browns, and just beautiful cat. And love that cat. And then Brickle came into my life, and I would swear that Brickle was a reincarnation of Max. There were so many things he did that Max had done, and he was also a tabby, but he was a silver tabby. And so I do believe that our animal spirits stay with us, and that that we will meet again if they're not already present to us ongoingly. So Tammy says, same here. I'm an animal lover and I do better with them over people. LOL. Yeah, me too, Tammy. Right now, with my daughter's dogs visiting, I have 3 dogs and 3 cats. Love them all. That's awesome. That sounds like quite a houseful. And hopefully, everybody's getting along. Um, what's cool is that when Maggie came back, Jewel wasn't freaked out, like she didn't run or hide, and she hung out on the bed, and they're getting acclimated to each other, and she's less intimidated by Maggie, which is awesome. Because Maggie set the tone early on. The very first day Maggie got here, Jewel was on the bed. Maggie jumped up on the bed, went over and bit Jewel's tail. And she has ruled the roost ever since. But they're finally, finding some balance. Anyway, I think that's it for today. I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you for all your prayers, all your love, and for making this such a beautiful, beautiful opportunity to connect and have this forum and share authentically and talk about these musings about life. So Isabel says, me too, Tammy. Our pets come round often to protect us. I feel that. I agree. I feel that too. So once again, Maggie and I both are delighted to have this time with you. And I'm Mira Rubin. This is Maggie. And we go live each weekday morning here on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page. Please, please check out the wonderful community in Enlightened World Network Facebook page, Enlightened World Living, EWN, One with the Earth. And it's such a pleasure and a privilege to spend this time with you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And so much love.